11, 12, 15, exactly. 15. Yeah. 15 is fine. There's more people coming.
السلام عليكم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من جاء بالحسنة فله عشر أمثالها. صدق الله العظيم. So, brothers, today, if you look at the date, it's May 20th. Right, so if we think about it, we're about 20 days, 3 weeks after Eid and after Ramadan had ended. Right, so still some proximity to that. And we had extensive discussions during the month of Ramadan about how that was an opportunity for us to undergo so many changes and improvements in our lives, in our spiritual lives. And we discussed how the goal of the month of Ramadan, of fasting during the month of Ramadan, was to gain taqwa, as stated in the ayah from the Quran, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So now, it's a good time for us to wonder and to assess ourselves as to whether we had some improvement after the month of Ramadan. And we should be wondering, were our actions, our efforts during the month accepted by Allah Ta'ala? And of course, the acceptance of deeds is up to Allah alone. No matter how good we think we did something, anything, any act of ibadah, any help to somebody else, any act of charity, whatever it may be, we can't think that, okay, we did such a good job, so it's good. It was accepted. We got an A grade. Like we don't know that. in anything, of course, that's up to Allah to accept it. But still, there are certain signs of the acceptance of a deed. There's certain signs of that something was successful. It's just like we have the same we apply the same principle in life that, if in anything that we do, if there's some big project or big opportunity for us, and then that's gone, afterwards we try to assess, was it a success or a failure? Did we get some improvement from it or not? And I'll touch upon some examples. But specifically, for the month of Ramadan, we see what the goal was, right? The goal was to obtain taqwa. We can say that could be translated in many ways, of course, right? The fear, and really the awareness of Allah at all times. That's like the essence of taqwa. And to obtain forgiveness of our previous sins. So, as I mentioned, then there's certain signs even in matters of the deen. Then there are certain signs that a person would look for to find out, were my actions accepted? So we look at, what are some sayings what are some things that people look for? So if you look at the scholars of hadith, the scholars of the sciences of Islam, what have they said? Some observations that they had, like for example, Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, he stated that, in general, the acceptance of an act shows in its continuation. Right? The acceptance of an act shows in its continuation. So if we can think during Ramadan, if we started doing something, then if that continues after Ramadan, then that's a sign of its acceptance, the acceptance of those actions. And also, like another scholar, Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, he stated that if a person really wants to see whether his Ramadan has been accepted or not, he should look at his actions, his a'mal, after Ramadan. So again, if a person really wants to know if his Ramadan was accepted, he should look at his a'mal after Ramadan. If he continues the same acts of worship, ibadat, after Ramadan, then verily his Ramadan has been accepted. That's the observation from various ahadith and ayat of the Quran that these ulama of the past had, come up with these advices for us, basically to look for certain signs of acceptance. They're both saying, did a person continue their actions after the month of Ramadan? And this is interesting. I had mentioned this before, that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, that for the 6 months after Ramadan, they would have that on their mind. Like, was our Ramadan accepted? So this is we see that this is not something that would be like unique to us now, that we're wondering, we're worried about that. That they would spend not just the first month after Ramadan, but really 6 months afterwards wondering if it was accepted. That would be their concern. They would make dua for that acceptance. So we could look at this, that whatever we did during Ramadan, did it continue afterwards? Or was it just like cut off right when Ramadan ended? Like a person is fasting during Ramadan, then Ramadan is over, Eid comes, and then thinks, okay, doesn't think about fasting again, or he's refraining from certain things during the month of Ramadan, and once it's over, he goes back to whatever he was doing before. Right? So, and like I mentioned, this is something we want to see a change. It's the same thing in life. Like if you think about it, here's some examples, because it's actually from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. If you look at many of the hadith, he would, to try to explain something, he would take something that's like a new concept and compare it to something that was already well known to the listeners, to the Sahaba. For example, he said, "At-ta'imu shakir kas-sa'imi as-sabir." Right? Like he told them that the one who is eating and thankful is like the one who is fasting and patient. Right? So it's already in their minds that they understand that the person who's fasting and patient, of course, he'll get reward from Allah Ta'ala. He's in an elevated state. But then he's saying that he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is comparing that well-known concept to something kind of new, saying that the person who is eating but thankful is like the fasting person. And there are many examples of this. Right? So that's why it's important to try to compare it to things, whatever concept we're discussing. There may be something we deal with in everyday life. You know, that this is actually from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Right? So like if you think about it, like if somebody, like look at different stages a person might go through in life. You know, like somebody's in school. They're having some, they're about to take their final exams, whether it's in college, high school. So they say, okay, let me attend this session, or they're about to take the SAT and they pay for some course. They go to a course, right? SAT, the prep course. Then it's done. After the course, what do they want to see? If they're taking a practice test before the course and it's the same exact result after the course, then they might think, wait, the same thing I was doing before, there's no change before and after. There's no improvement here. You know, so then we would think, wait, that doesn't sound like a success then. Or if somebody's at work, there's a business, right? They're not doing very well over the past couple of years. So, you know, they want to shake things up. They say, okay, we're going to bring in some consulting firm. We're going to try to see how we could improve our practices. They go through a whole process for that. Right? They make changes. They change their strategies. They change their, their financial strategy, how their customer service might be, whatever it is for that business. But then they look at afterwards, after that, all that is done. They have this whole consulting firm come in. Afterwards, if there's no change, no improvement, they think, wait a second, maybe this wasn't worth it. It was a waste of time. Right? So the same thing can apply to us in the deen. We want to see, did we have some improvement? You know, for those who follow sports, like right now it's the off season for, let's say, the NFL. So, the teams will be trying to improve themselves in that off season, right? They want to get some free agents, make some trades, make the draft, right? But imagine if there's a team that year after year they're terrible. They don't make the playoffs. Every year they go into the off season. They want to look for some improvement, and there's nothing. Same results over and over again. Not very hard to imagine, unfortunately, with the teams in our area, Jets and Giants. But that's right for those who follow. So it's easy for us to relate to, right? What you're looking for is some improvement. Then you'd say, wow, this was a success after all these changes we tried making. And whether it's in the sports, business, school, whatever it is, right? So that is really what these ulama, what the muhaddithin and the scholars of tafsir, when they look at it, they say you should see some change. In our lives, there should be some change from before and after Ramadan. That, if you think about it, you could look at what were we doing in Ramadan, and then we could ask ourselves, are we doing it now? The first thing that comes to mind is, of course, the siyam, fasting. And right away after Ramadan, and this is very pertinent to us because we're still in that month, the month of Shawwal, in which we're told that in a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man sama Ramadan, thumma tabahu sittan min Shawwal." That whoever fasted in Ramadan and then he followed it with 6 days from the month of Shawwal, like 6 days of fasting, فَذَلِكَ صِيَامُ الدَّهْرِ, then that is like fasting for the entire year. And we're still in that time, so it's like a reminder for us. It's not like if you didn't do it in the first few days that you can't do it the rest of the month. The month is still there to try to get, like if somebody would like to get, any day is good, but try to get the 6 days, the opportunity is still there for us. And about that as well, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man sama sittata ayamin ba'da al-fitr." Whoever fasted the 6 days after, for 6 days after fitr, after Eid, kana tamam as-sana. Then it's as if it's for the entire year. And then he recited the ayah. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam recited the ayah, "Man ja'a bil hasana falahu ashru amthaliha." That whoever does a good deed, he has 10 times in its likeness, 10 times multiplied in its reward. And we see this, it's like simple math for us then. If you do if you fast 6 days in Ramadan, in Shawwal, 6 times 10, right? 6 times 10, about 60 days, right? 2 months. You fasted the entire month of Ramadan, that's 1 month. Times 10 is 10 months. So, 10 months plus 2 months, 1 year, right? Tamam as-sana. It's like the whole year of fasting reward. But the opportunities don't just, again, it's like it's like a spectrum, a gradient. It's not like you go from Ramadan to Shawwal and then you wait till the next Ramadan until you get that opportunity of fasting and extra rewards again, right? That in every month then, the Prophet ﷺ, of course, used to fast certain days. And that same formula still applied. He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Sum min ash-shahri thalathata ayyam. He said, fast during the month, like every month, for 3 days. فَإِنَّ الْحَسَنَةَ بِأَشْرِ أَمْثَالِهَا. For the good deed is given 10 times its reward. وَذَلِكَ مِثْلُ صِيَامِ الدَّهْرِ. And that is like fasting the entire year. صِيَامُ الدَّهْرِ. So 3 days a month is like the entire year. Why? Again, that same formula. You fast 3 days times 10, 30. You do that every month, it's like you're fasting every month. It's like you're fasting the entire year. Plus the rewards that Allah Ta'ala gives. It's not like we can really comprehend it with our math. Even here we see, it's like you would go beyond the year in the reward for fasting. First you have the reward, we're saying, for Ramadan and Shawwal. Then if you keep fasting just 3 days a month, you get the reward for fasting the whole year that way, with that same formula. Right? So we see the opportunity is still there. So a person can see, it's not like he's going to be fasting every day like he did in Ramadan, but he can look at himself, am I doing something afterwards? Am I maintaining, am I doing those 3 fasts per month, for example? Even 1 fast, something. Am I continuing what I started in Ramadan? Beyond that, of course, what else did we do during the month of Ramadan? The qiyam, the salah at night, the prayer. Again, that it's not like once that the month is gone, and it's Eid, and afterwards that opportunity is gone to do the prayer at night, right? Because the opportunity is still there. Like the Prophet ﷺ said, "Afdalu salati ba'da al-farida salatul layl." The best of the prayers after the fard prayers is the salah at night, the salatul layl. That's every night. Every night. That opportunity is there. Just the same way we were trying to perform the Salatul Tarawih, right? You could do the same thing, the Salatul Layl, on any night of the year. And that will be counted amongst the best of the prayers. And it doesn't mean you have to perform 20 rak'at or 12 rak'at or 8 rak'at every night. Even if you do something, let's say you do 2 rak'at at night. Night, means any salah, if you look at the hadith and what this means, salatul layl, it doesn't mean only at the time of tahajjud, like right at the last, moments of the night. That's not the only opportunity to count for doing salatul layl or tahajjud actually. That's just the best time for salatul tahajjud. But it's actually defined, if you look at it, as any prayer at night after salatul isha. So depending on your schedule, let's say you can't easily wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock, before Salatul Fajr even begins. That's the best thing to do. But that doesn't mean you're deprived of the opportunity to get that reward for that Salatul Layl. You can just perform, for example, 2 rak'ah before sleeping. You did Salatul Isha, you did your Salatul, you did the Sunnah, you did your Salatul Witr, and then just perform 2 extra rak'ah. And you make dua to Allah Ta'ala that He accepts that. That could count as being from the best prayers, the afdalu salah, as we saw in this hadith. Right? That reward is there. Also with the prayers. What else were we doing in Ramadan? More people we saw, frequently, regularly, we were praying in congregation, in the Jama'ah. But the reward for praying in Jama'ah is also, that's something we can maintain. We're here for Salatul Jumu'ah. We could come for as many of the 5 prayers as we can come for. Right? That opportunity is still there. And that's why, I had mentioned this hadith. I remember one of the times during Ramadan also, that the Prophet ﷺ said, Man صلى العشاء في جماعة فكأنما قام نصف الليل. If a person prays Salat al-Isha in the Jama'ah, in the congregation, it's as if he prayed for half the night. And that's not just in Ramadan. That's in throughout any night. That opportunity is there. Perform Salatul Isha in the congregation, the Jama'ah, you get the reward. It counts as if you prayed for half of the night. And also, so the best way to do that, of course, you come to the masjid. But don't forget, if you cannot do that, and you have your family at home, there's some other, you have a brother, father, somebody there, you can if you perform the congregation, if you cannot make it to the masjid, you try to do that. At least you try to do that at home. Right? The opportunity for the congregation, Jama'ah, that is there for us. It's not hard to do that. Regardless of how busy you are, how busy your schedule is, what you're doing, it does not mean that you cannot perform the salah in the Jama'ah, the congregation. Because we were able to do it in Ramadan, we should be able to do, if we can't do 20 rak'ah and the whole Salatul Isha, Salatul Tarawih afterwards in congregation, we should be able to perform the fara'id, the fard prayers. Salatul Isha, as we see here in the congregation. That's something that we can do to see, are we maintaining what we did in Ramadan. And then, not just for Salatul Isha, وَمَنْ صَلَّى الصُّبْحِ فِي جَمَاعَةٍ فَكَأَنَّمَا صَلَّى اللَّيْلَ كُلَّهُ. Whoever performs Salatul Fajr in congregation, then it's as if he performed the prayer for the entire night. The entire night. Right? Again, that's something that we can do. Best is come to the masjid. If for some reason you're not able to come to the masjid, your schedule, whatever, you're not able to, that's the best thing to do. At least then, try to perform whenever possible, depending on your situation, who's in your home, right? Who's there, depending on your family, whatever, that you should try to perform the congregation. If you cannot come to the masjid, you do it at home. Then we would hope that once you do that Jama'ah prayer, you get that reward for praying the entire night, right? So the opportunities are there to keep continuing what we had done during Ramadan. Same thing with charity. People gave, we tend to give a lot of charity. The best of, as we say in the hadith, it says the best of charity is during the month of Ramadan. But all the time, for throughout the year, charity is the opportunity for reward is there. The Prophet ﷺ said, "As-sadaqatu burhan." That the sadaqah, charity, is burhan, like a proof. Proof for what? In the next life, right? On the day of judgment, it'll be like, it's proof. Like if you're in court, you're trying to, somebody's trying to win a case. He needs some evidence. He needs somebody to come testify on his behalf. Something to show that, like I'm in the right. So the sadaqah will be like that on the day of judgment. Whatever charity we give, it'll be a proof for the person that this is a person who should enter Jannah, right? And that's what we hope for when we give the charity, that Allah accepts that. So the reward, the opportunity for that reward is still there. So if anything, we can say that during Ramadan, we started doing certain things. And then by doing those things, we cleansed our heart, right? It's like when a car goes to a car wash, it gets all cleaned out. The moment you drive it off the lot, it should still be clean. The previous impurities are gone, right? All that filth and stuff that's on there. Maybe you even get it detailed. So now it's clean. Now you have the opportunity to keep it clean. You're going to be careful, like maybe I won't eat that sandwich when I'm in the car. Maybe I'll try to be careful with the drink. If you try to change your, say, let me keep it good for a while. So you be more careful. So that's our opportunity here. We can be, it's as if our hearts got cleansed during the month of Ramadan. So now we have the opportunity to keep it clean, to keep that taqwa there. And we do that by continuing these actions that we had started during the month of Ramadan. So I make dua that Allah Ta'ala accepts whatever we have done during the month of Ramadan and allows us to be amongst those who can continue those actions after the month. So now, before we continue with the salah, I'll just make some words in Arabic. And Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulih al-Kareem. الحمد لله نستعينه واستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم من جاء بالحسنة فله عشر أمثالها ومن جاء بالسيئة فلا يجزى إلا مثلها وهم لا يظلمون. وقد روي في الحديث الصيام جنة. وروي أيضا أفضل الصلاة بعد الفريضة صلاة الليل. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من صلى العشاء في جماعة فكأنما قام نصف الليل ومن صلى الصبح في جماعة فكأنما صلى الليل كله. قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله أستعين واستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا بين يدي الساعة من يطع الله ورسوله فقد رشد ومن يعصهما فإنه لا يضر إلا نفسه ولا يضر الله شيئا. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات وبارك على محمد وأزواجه وذريته. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أرحم أمتي بأمتي أبو بكر وأشدهم في أمر الله عمر وأصدقهم حياء عثمان وقضاهم علي وفاطمة سيدة نساء أهل الجنة والحسن والحسين سيدا شباب أهل الجنة وحمزة أسد الله وأسد رسوله. اللهم اغفر للعباس وولده مغفرة ظاهرة ولا تغادر ذنبا. الله في أصحابي لا تتخذوهم غرضا من بعضي فمن أحبهم فبحبي أحبهم ومن أبغضهم فببغضي أبغضهم وخير أمتي قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون. وأقيموا الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم
مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر إن قرآن الفجر كان مشهودا ومن الليل فتهجد به نافلة لك عسى أن يبعثك ربك مقاما محمودا وقل رب أدخلني مدخل صدق وأخرجني مخرج صدق واجعل لي من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا وقل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا وننزل من القرآن ما هو شفاء ورحمة للمؤمنين ولا يزيد الظالمين إلا خسارا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. وقالوا لولا يأتينا بآية من ربه أولم تأتهم بينة ما في الصحف الأولى ولو أنا أهلكناهم بعذاب من قبله لقالوا ربنا لولا أرسلت إلينا رسولا فنتبع آياتك من قبل أن نذل ونخزى قل كل متربص فتربصوا فستعلمون من أصحاب الصراط السوي ومن اهتدى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
So we had a community member who passed away, Brother Johan, so we'll make dua for him. اللهم اغفر لحينا وميتنا وشاهدنا وغائبنا وصغيرنا وكبيرنا وذكرنا وأنثانا. اللهم من أحيته منا فأحيي على الإسلام ومن توفيته منا فتوفه على الإيمان. اللهم اغفره وارحمه واجعل قبره روضة من رياض الجنة. اللهم اغفره وارحمه واجعل قبره روضة من رياض الجنة. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.